All right, let's talk about how we are going to use our angle relationships to solve for missing variables and missing angles. So this first question here, this example has two intersecting lines here, as you can see. And what these two intersecting lines create would be vertical angles. Okay, so the first thing we want to do every time we have a question is identify what we're working with. So here we're going to be working with vertical angles. So now you need to know the property that the vertical angles create. And what that property really is vertical angles are congruent. So we would have this angle right here is going to be congruent to the angle across from it. So anytime that we have two angles that are congruent to each other, we want to take their algebras and we want to set them equal to each other. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say 2x minus 10 is equal to 120. And this is because these two angles are equal to each other. They are congruent. So we are going to set them equal to each other. So 2x minus 10 is equal to 120. We're going to actually add a 10 to both sides here. This is going to be 2x is equal to 130. And we're going to divide both sides by 2 here, and we're going to get x is equal to 65. So that right there is our final answer. All we're doing is solving for the variable. We're not solving for the angle. So our variable is going to be x is equal to 65. So number 2 now. We need to figure out here what we're dealing with in number 2. So looks like we have two angles that are right next to each other. So I know that these are adjacent because adjacent angles are next to each other, but that doesn't really give us too much information. I want to look a little bit deeper and see what else these angles are. So when I notice that these two angles are sitting on the same line right here, this will actually show us that these two angles are a linear pair. Okay, they are a linear pair, which means they will add up to 180 degrees. Okay, another way, if you wanted to call these, you could call these supplementary. Okay, these would be supplementary because they also add up to 180 degrees. Okay, either one of those would work for me. So what we need to do here is if we take this angle and we take this angle and we added those together, we should get 180 degrees. All right, so let's say 2x plus 4x plus 108. If we add those two angles together, we should get 180. So let's go ahead and do that. So adding these up here, 2x, 4x are our like terms. Combining those is going to give us a 6x plus 108 is equal to 180. Go ahead and subtract that 108 from both sides. We're going to be left with 6x is equal to 72. And finally here, last step is we're going to divide both sides by 6. We should get x is equal to 12. Okay, so again, recap on this question, linear pair, because they are right next to each other, and this is a straight line. Since this is a straight line, we know that these two adjacent angles will be supplementary, which means they'll add up to 180. All right, number 3 now. So number 3 says 2x plus 25 in this angle, 3x minus 10 in this angle, and then right here we have a y. So first thing I want to do, most of the time when we have an x and a y, I want to find a way that we can get these x's together. So I need to ask what is, if any, is the relationship between 2x plus 25 and 3x minus 10. That's the first thing we need to figure out. And hopefully you're sitting at home saying, well, these are vertical angles. Okay. And yes, that would be correct. These are vertical angles. So this right here, 2x plus 25, is going to be congruent to 3x minus 10. Now, every time we have vertical angles, they are congruent, and which means they are equal. So we will set their algebras equal. So since 2x plus 25 and 3x minus 10 are equal to each other, we're going to write that in an equation and state that they are equal to each other. So from here, we have 2x plus 25 equals 3x minus 10. We need to get rid of the small variable, the little brother. Get rid of this 2x here. So this is going to be 25 is equal to x minus 10. Last step here, we need to add a 10 to both sides. So this is going to be 35 is equal to x. All right. Next slide here, we got two more to do. Number 4. Oh, sorry, wait a minute. I just remembered. Now, if x is equal to 35 and we need to solve for y, let's think about what we would do and why we can do it. So what I'm thinking here is I need to find some sort of angle relationship with y and probably one of these two angles. And when we do that, what I'm thinking here is we have a straight line right here. And we know what this angle is. Would we be able to find this angle? Yes, we would. And the reason that we can do that is because these, like the last question, form a linear pair. Okay, just like the last question, these form a linear pair. So what we need to do is we need to take 35, which was our x, and we need to plug it in to 2x plus 25. Okay, that way we can figure out what this angle is. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to say 2 times our x plus 25, and our x here is 35. So 2 times 35, that's going to give us 70. 70 plus 25 is going to be 95. So this angle right here is 95 degrees. And now, since we have a linear pair between 95 degrees and y, we know that those are going to add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so these are a linear pair, or you could say these are supplementary angles. So what we need to do here is we're going to say 95 plus angle y is equal to 180. Okay, that's how we set this up. So we take both of our angles and we're saying, hey, if we add these together, we should get 180. That's how we write the equation. And then here, in order to solve for this, we just subtracted 95 from both sides, and that gives us 85. Okay, so y is equal to 85. Next one here, number 4. So again, we have a y over here, a y over here. So I want you to pause this. This is extremely similar to number 3. I want you to pause it right here, and I want you to practice this question as well as number 5. So get yourself a little assessment here. See how we do on question 4 and question 5. If we can get the right answer when you come back, I will be working on these examples. Okay, number 4 here. So what we do is we've got vertical angles. We've got vertical angles. Which means they are congruent. So we have our loop marks on here. What we're going to do here is we're going to say 2y plus 6 is equal to 8y minus 102. So since these are vertical angles, we know vertical angles are congruent or equal, so we are going to set them equal. Subtract the smaller variable here. This is going to be 6 is equal to 6y minus 102. 6 is equal to 6y minus 102. And the next step here to be an add a 102 to both sides. So here we are going to get 108 is equal to 6y. Divide both sides by 6 in the last step. Our final answer here for y is going to be y is equal to 18. Okay. Now, that's not the only answer we'll have. What we need to do here is find x. So it's going to be very helpful for us to figure out what one of these are. So it looks like 2y plus 6 is pretty easy for us to do in our head. So I'm going to go ahead and plug y back in for, plug 18 back in for y. So 2 times y plus 6, well, we said y was 18. So this right here is going to be 36 plus 6. So our angle, I'm going to scratch that out now. Our angle is 42 degrees, okay? And hopefully you saw that we have a linear pair here between 3x and 42. So what we would do is we would take 3x, we would add 42, and we would say that that is equal to 180 because all linear pairs are equal to 180. So here, subtract a 42 from both sides. This is going to be 3x is equal to 138. Divide both sides here by 3, and we're going to get x equals 46. Okay, so we had some work on that one, but we got it done. We got y is equal to 18, x is equal to 46. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully you got that one correct. Last one here, number 5. So number 5 probably had you guys thrown for a little bit of a loop because we didn't have vertical angles, which, I mean, of course we do have vertical angles. However, our vertical angles have different variables in them. So if you notice, this is a y, and then vertical to that y would be our x, right? So our x's are both here on the right, and our y's are both here on the left. So I know in the past I've had some people try to assume that these are 90 degrees, and we cannot assume that those are 90 degrees unless it says that they're 90 degrees. So unless one of these had a box in them, we cannot assume that any of them are 90 degrees. So what we need to do is focus on each line. So I'm going to focus here. I'm going to focus on this line that goes up and down. Okay, let's look at our y's right now. So hopefully you guys notice here our y's and both of our x's actually both make a linear pair. Okay, which means they are all supplementary. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take 2y plus 50. We need to add 5y minus 17. And we need to say that that's going to be equal to 180. So 2y plus 50 plus 5y minus 17 is equal to 180. Okay? Now, from here on out, we are combining like terms. So we got 2y, we got 5y, we've got 50, we've got negative 17. So 2y and 5y, that's going to be 7y. 50 and negative 17 should be a positive 33. And that is equal to 180. From this point on, need to subtract a 33 from both sides. This is going to be 7y is equal to 147. And we need to divide both sides here by 7 to get our final y answer, and that's going to be y is equal to 21. Okay, so we did this for our y's. We said, hey, these two y's come together to make a linear pair. They are supplementary. They add up to 180. Then our x's. We're going to do the same exact thing for our x's. So we're going to say 7x minus 248 plus our other angle here, x plus 44, is equal to 180. And again, like terms. Nothing really changes here. This is the same concept for both of these questions. So 7x and 1x, That's going to give us 8x 248, and 44 here. That will give us a negative 204. So from this point on, we need to add a 204 to both sides. This is going to be 8x is equal to 384. And from here, last step, need to divide both sides by 8. And when we do that, we are going to get 48. Okay, so these are both of our answers here. I'm hoping you guys got those. Once you are finished this, go ahead and get done with the IXL. I would say the IXL is a little more simple than this. We are going to expand on this at a later date.